If you've been following the channel, then you know that I'm currently recovering from spinal canal surgery. Therefore, the next few videos, things are going to be animated, and if that's not your thing, I get it. But if you're here, thank you for bearing with us. Now let's get into it. Honestly, that example ties in perfectly to what we're talking about today, because here I am recovering from spinal canal surgery at a relatively young age. I'm not going to say my age, but someone my age doesn't usually go through something like this. So I'm just going to tell you something real. Life rarely goes the way you imagined it. Of course, everyone has dreams, and sometimes it even feels like God gave you that dream. However, the path to that dream doesn't always make sense. One perfect example of that is Joseph. Not Saint Joseph, we already did a video on him. I'm talking about Joseph from the Old Testament, an old saint with a story full of twists, setbacks, and purpose. He had dreams from God, and in those dreams, he saw himself in positions of leadership doing great things. But one thing he didn't see coming was betrayal. And he never thought it would come from his own brothers, the ones closest to him. That's where a lot of us can relate, because many of us assume that the people around us are always going to celebrate us. But sometimes the same people who clap for you in public are the ones who are clapping against you in private. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I'm just saying be careful, because those people do exist. And in my own life, I'll be honest with you, you cannot plan for everything. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I never planned to do any of this. I was in the military. Honestly, I did want to stay in, but I had to get out. Then I went to university and finished a graduate program. And even then, I never imagined myself building a channel like this. I never imagined wanting to follow Christ the way that I do now, even though I fall short all the time. That's why I am a prodigal son, because I used to chase whatever I wanted, however I wanted. But now I'm trying to do things differently. Not because I'm better, but because I've seen where chasing the world will take you. And Joseph's story is a perfect example of that, because nothing in his life went the way he thought it would either. Joseph wasn't just any other son. He was made to be different from the very beginning, because he was born to Jacob and Rachel. And for a long time, they didn't even think Rachel could have kids. So when Joseph was finally born, it was a big deal. It was a miracle. So naturally, Joseph was treated like the favorite. He got a coat of many colors, and it was brand new. And even though he was technically the youngest of all of his brothers, he didn't get no hand-me-downs. While his brothers were doing hard labor, Joseph was getting educated and dressed like a prince. And just to be clear, Joseph never asked to be treated like this. He never begged to be the favorite. He never schemed his way into his dad's heart. It just happened. But his brothers hated him for it. Not because he did something wrong, but simply because he was loved. Because he stood out. And as we mentioned, you'd be surprised how many people will start hating on you just because God gave you something different. And that's something that we all need to understand. Favor comes with a cost. And when you see someone else walking in their favor, don't hate on it. You don't know what it's costing them. In Joseph's case, the cost was envy. And that envy came from his own family. And unfortunately, some of you know exactly what that feels like. Now, Joseph had these vivid dreams that showed his family bowing down to him. And when his brothers asked to hear them, he told them. He didn't boast, he confided in them. He was honest about what he saw, not knowing that it would be used against him. For example, one of his dreams was about him and his brothers gathering bundles of grain in a field, and in the dream, their bundles bowed to his. And then in another dream, this time it was the sun, the moon, and 11 stars all bowing down to him. Even his father questioned him after hearing that, but it says his father also kept it in mind. Still, those dreams still added fuel to the fire. His brothers already hated how favored he was, and now they saw him as arrogant, threatening, and too much. And some of you may hear that from people in your life as well. So one day, Jacob sends Joseph out to check on his brothers in the field. And when they see him coming from a distance, they start plotting. They say, "Here comes that dreamer." Some of them wanted to kill him right then and there. But not every brother wanted to kill Joseph. Reuben stepped in and he told him to throw Joseph in a pit instead, because his plan was to come back later and rescue him. While Joseph was down in that pit, another group of traders came passing through, and before Reuben could return, the brothers pulled Joseph out and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Then they took his coat of many colors, ripped it up, dipped it in goat's blood, and brought it back to their father, lying, saying a wild animal had killed him. So now Joseph is gone, betrayed, alone, stripped of his identity, and headed towards Egypt in chains. So now let's fast forward. Joseph is a slave, and he's working in a house of a man named Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials. And it's important to note that Joseph was a good-looking dude. It literally says he was well-built and handsome. So of course, Potiphar's wife takes notice, and she starts throwing herself at him day after day, trying to wear him down. Now let's be honest, most of us would have probably folded, and I'm not even gonna lie, back in the day I probably would have too. But Joseph didn't. He stood his ground and he showed restraint. He told her no, over and over again. And like we said in other videos, real masculinity is restraint. Even the restraint to say no to a woman who's throwing herself at you. And trust me, that is not easy to do. Joseph could have easily said, man, I'm a slave anyway, she's ordering me to do it, what does it matter? But he didn't. He chose integrity. But no matter what decision he made, there was still a cost because Potiphar's wife didn't take rejection well. She flipped the story and accused him of assault. And Joseph was thrown into prison for something he didn't even do. Now here's the crazy part. Joseph was only 17 years old whenever he was sold into slavery. He spent about 11 years serving in Potiphar's house and then 2 more years in prison. That's 13 years of his life gone. Serving, suffering, sitting in a place that he didn't even deserve to be in. His life was not going the way he thought it would at all. Now while in prison, he helped other prisoners by interpreting their dreams, but he was still forgotten. Then one day, Pharaoh, a man who didn't even believe in God, had a dream that no one could explain. Then that's whenever they finally remembered Joseph. And just like that, at the age of 30 years old, he's pulled out of prison, cleaned up, and brought before the most powerful man in the world at that time. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream. He warns him of a famine that's coming, and Pharaoh is so impressed that he promotes Joseph on the spot. From a slave to a prisoner to second in command in all of Egypt. And here's the thing, when God has a plan for your life, he can even use non-believers to help make that happen. So now let's fast forward again. Joseph is now in charge. He's married, he's got kids, and he's running all of Egypt. His life is finally starting to look the way he once imagined. Think about it. Now he has the favor and the leadership that God had promised him all those years ago. But then, as he predicted, a famine hits. And because the famine is so severe, people from all over start coming to Egypt looking to purchase food. And guess who shows up? His brothers, the same ones who betrayed him, the same ones who sold him for silver. They walk into the palace and they bow, just like in Joseph's original dream. But they don't recognize him. Now that's the part I want to focus on. Because Joseph doesn't immediately reveal who he is. He doesn't say, it's me, I forgive you, take the food. Like how most Christians say we should be. Instead, Joseph tests them. He checks to see if their hearts have actually changed, if they've grown, if they're remorseful, and if they would still treat their youngest brother, Benjamin, the same way that they once treated him. And I'll be real with you, I relate to that because that's how I am too. People always say forgiveness is for you, and they're absolutely right. Joseph forgave them, yes, but he still tested them. And personally, that's what I do too. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you that's what I've had to learn. Because I've been stepped on, I've had people take advantage of my kindness, my trust, and my forgiveness too many times. And I can't live like that no more. So now, I test, I protect my peace. I only let genuine people stay close. Because I don't want fake apologies. I don't want people just trying to get something out of me. I want to see hearts. So here's what Joseph does. He tests him with Benjamin, the new youngest son and believed to be the only living son from Rachel. So Benjamin is all he has left of his mother. He wants to see, would they protect Benjamin? Would they fight for him? Or would they throw him under the bus like they did with Joseph? So Joseph puts them through a series of tests. He gives them grain and sends them home, but keeps one brother in prison and demands that they bring Benjamin back. Then when they return with Benjamin, Joseph secretly plants a silver cup in Benjamin's bag to make it look like he stole it. And then when he confronts them, Judah begs to take Benjamin's place. That's the moment where Joseph knows they've changed. They're not the same men that they used to be. And that's where he breaks down. He sends everyone out of the room, and through his tears, he finally says who he really is. And his brothers are shocked and silent. But this is where Joseph says something powerful. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. And honestly, that's how I want to end this video. These days I can't help but feel disgusted with some of my fellow human beings and the decisions they make and the evil in this world. But no matter what, God will always use the attention of evil to do good. If you agree, send this video to someone who can learn from Joseph's story. And if you're learning Spanish or just want to practice, head over to our Spanish channel, where you'll find Spanish versions of these same videos and connect with the growing community of prodigal sons just like you. But for now, I'm the prodigal son, and just like Joseph, I forgive but I test, because wisdom isn't bitterness, it's knowing who's real and who's not.